Am I the asshole for telling my roommate that her pregnancy is not my problem? The girl that I live with, Kay, is pregnant and is due early next year. Of course, she seems excited to have a baby, but at the same time, she has been making her pregnancy my problem. I get that the pregnancy is going to affect her physically in many ways, but Kay has been a pain in the ass to deal with. I had to throw out all the bananas because she was complaining about how strong the smell was. She isn't helping with cooking or cleaning as much as she used to. Kay cries about almost everything and it's annoying as hell. Her pregnancy is making her vomit, which I expected, but sometimes the vomiting is pretty intense, and once she pretty much projectile vomited on the floor because she couldn't make it up to the bathroom, for which I had to clean her vomit. So over the past few months, she's been asking me to get things for her from the store, even on good days when she isn't feeling sick. When I asked her why she couldn't just get up and go to the store herself, she said that I'm not the one pregnant. So this is where I may be the asshole. Kay has been asking me to drive her to her appointments, which I did once, but then it became a constant thing of her asking me and I kept refusing. This is what happened the other day. She asked me to take her to the clinic. I said no, I was busy that day. She kept pleading with me and finally I had enough and kind of snapped. I told her that she is the only one responsible for her pregnancy and to not make it my problem, so that she needs to stop making it by asking me to constantly do favors for her. She started crying and I left because I couldn't take it anymore. I know I may have been harsh to a pregnant lady, but I don't feel like I need to be her personal servant. Am I the asshole?
Am I the asshole for flipping out after he ate my son's food? I don't think I'm an asshole, honestly. However, literally everyone I've spoken to is against me on this because, quote unquote, it's just food. I would never make someone feel like shit over food, blah, blah. So here I am. 30 female. I have a 13-year-old son named Colby with my ex-husband. Last year, my son desperately wanted to go to Japan because his father currently lives there, and my son had been there multiple times for visits during the summer and fell in love with it. He begged me to let him live with his dad for a year, and while it broke my fucking heart and gave me extreme anxiety, I agreed. I couldn't say no. He went there for a year and came back home in August of this year. Japan has much different cuisines than the US does, and while my son wouldn't complain about anything I put in front of him, he did make a few comments about missing Japanese dishes. So I went through a few websites, got a hold of his dad, etc., and I was able to get some of the ingredients and recipes shipped out to me. His favorite one is some type of noodles with a dark brown spicy sauce. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but since it's his favorite, I had his father send me out the noodles and sauce so my son can prepare it for himself at home, as well as buying him the fresh ingredients needed. Well, me and my husband's daughter, 9, asked Colby the day before yesterday if she could have some of his noodles. He said no. He only said no because he's made the dish for her before, and she wasted the entire thing because it was too spicy. So she doesn't like it, and therefore he said no and reminded her that she didn't like it. Before my daughter could even respond, my husband pipes up with, "Give her some, there's no reason why you can't share." I stepped in and said no, and that she's already had it and threw it in the trash, and that this is his food. He doesn't have to share his food. He just kind of walks off. Well, this morning, my son asked where all of his noodles were, parentheses 4 packages, and my husband says, I ate them. I asked why the fuck he would do that, and he said, because I wanted to. To me, this felt like a big fuck you because I told him my son didn't have to share his food, so I did lose it. He did this on purpose. I just know it. I told him he was a fucking pig on a power trip, and he should be ashamed of himself for eating my son's food. He says I'm ridiculous, and I'm an asshole for calling him a pig, parentheses, because he's overweight, simply because he was hungry and wanted to eat. Everyone else says I'm an asshole too. As I said, am I the asshole?
Let me tell you about the time my mom murdered my cat. So this story starts off with me waking up after a sleepover at my best friend at the time's house. My mom pulls up, picks me up. This is random, but she ends up hitting their mailbox because their driveway's weird. I don't know. That's besides the point. So we're driving home. At this point, I'm not suspecting anything. Like, everything's chill. Just wait. Just to preface so you don't get confused, I had 2 cats, one named Lisa and one named Otis. Don't ask why the cat's name was Lisa. I didn't name it. I walk in and I see my cat Lisa seizing. Like, this hoe is not good. Obviously, I'm like panicking. I'm like, Mom, what the fuck is happening? My mom is looking so guilty at this point. She says, I gave the cats flea medicine earlier. Like, let me see the medicine. Let me read it. This was dog flea medicine. If you didn't already know this, you cannot put dog flea medicine on cats. It's literal poison. I Googled it to see how serious it was because I didn't know. I was 12. these bitches were gonna die. This medicine was a liquid, like the type you rub into their skin, so my mom grabs a rag, starts rubbing it off of Lisa. While she's doing that, I'm trying to find my boy Otis. Apparently, some cats, when they know they're dying, will hide from their owners so their owners don't have to see it. He would always like to hide in the walls of our basement, so that's where I checked first. Finally found him after like 20 minutes of looking. Otis is reacting the same as Lisa, seizing, just awful. So we do the same thing, rubbing it off of his back. At this point, I'm like, Mom, we need to take him to a vet now. It's like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. I don't know if anyone's open, but we're on our way. I don't remember what exactly happened, but it was either there was nothing open or we couldn't afford it. But my mom ends up turning back around and we go home. At this point, I couldn't do anything. I'm just accepting their fate. I'm so emotionally distraught at this point, so I just go to bed and my mom takes care of the cats all night. The next morning, I wake up to my cat Lisa alive and my cat Otis. I'm assuming the reason why Otis didn't make it and Lisa did was because we couldn't find him for those 20 minutes, so we had the medicine on longer. We ended up burying him the next day. Took me a while to forgive my mom. I don't know what she was thinking, but you live and you learn.
Story time of the time my entire high school saw my boobs and a video of me in the shower that I had no idea existed. So that I do not get sued, I will be changing names from the story, but some of you weird fuckers who did this to me in high school follow me, so I hope that made your stomach drop. I do unfortunately have to give a trigger warning for child porn. If you understand what I'm saying, I was underage when this happened to me. This all started my 8th grade year at my first year ever in public school on New Year's Eve. I was with 4 of my closest girlfriends, but only one of them needs to really be talked about during this story. We are going to call her Ella. So the end of the night rolls around, we were all having a good time, and I go to take a shower, which I feel like is a pretty normal thing to do. So now we're gonna skip ahead a year to my freshman year of high school. Like I said, that was in 8th grade. This will make sense in a second. So it's my freshman year, it's right at the beginning of the school year. I'm pretty petrified, as I feel like most freshmen in high school are. I had just made like the varsity cheerleading team. I was trying to make friends. It was very overwhelming, like for that age. Cheer practice one day, it's one of our first practices of the season. And one of my teammates comes up to me, and I will forever love her for letting me know before somebody else did. And she's like, Kendall, this is gonna, like, why is there a video of you going around of you in the shower? And I'm like, what do you mean? I've never taken a video of myself in the shower. I was like 15 at the time. I just remember looking at her and my heart dropping and being like, what are you talking about? There's no way. It can't be me. This must be someone else. And she was like, no, Kendall, like I'm 100% it was you. We were at my birthday dinner last night, and one of the boys that was sitting at the table with us airdropped it to the entire table at Chili's. This is where it all started. I didn't really know what to do at this point. I was petrified of my coach finding out, of my mom. I'm like flipping through every file in my head. I'm like, did I do that? But like, why would I do that? I was so fucking confused. Still being extremely confused. I didn't want to like lose my place on this team. I continued on with practice, went about my day until the next day at school. I remember sitting in class. It was a normal day. I was trying not to think about it too much because I was like, she has to have me confused with someone else. There's no way that it's me. That would be until every single person who had their airdrop on in the classroom got an airdrop except for me, and the entire class just turned around and just fucking stared at me, and I knew exactly what was going on. And I have never been so... I still sweat to this day talking about it. I remember not asking the teacher if I could go to the bathroom, anything. I just ran out of the room, ran to the bathroom, and I remember sitting on the bathroom floor just absolutely sobbing, and I'm pretty positive that I stayed there for the rest of the day on the bathroom floor. So I left school that day. It was at this point where I just started getting absolutely bombarded with texts from my friends, people that I wasn't really friends with, and I didn't know what to do because I had never seen this video. I didn't remember taking this video. I was convinced that there was just no way it was me. It had to be someone else. I truly don't think I've ever been so confused in a situation still to this day in my entire life. So the next day at school, I'm sitting at lunch and I didn't even want to be there. I was begging my mom not to make me go to school. She's like, why do you not want to go to school? Like, what's wrong with you? You have to go to cheer, like blah, blah, blah. And this video gets airdropped in the school cafeteria. And this is when things really, if you didn't think they were going downhill already, this is where it starts to go downhill. Again, I run out of the room and I go and I sit on the bathroom floor at my school and just sob for the rest of the day until cheer practice. And this is the day where I knew that it was just getting bad and that everything was kind of about to go to shit. And this was when my cheer coach pulled me aside at practice and was like, why am I having so many people come to me telling you that there's a video of you naked in the shower? Also, still at this point, I had still never seen this video. Nobody would show it to me. It was like people were being so mean about it that they just liked it, that they could see it and like hold it over my head and not have me see it. Like I had no idea still. I was still fucking confused. So at this point, I just absolutely break down to my cheer coach. I still love and talk to her to this day. And she sent me home, and at that point I was like, I think I need to tell my mom, because I honest to God don't ever remember taking this video. I like need to tell somebody what's going on, because this is like not okay. Another thing that I forgot to mention that happened to me is the day when I left the cafeteria and I was running to the bathroom, there was a boy who was a couple years older than me, and he had a bottle of water in his hand, and he threw water at me and asked if I needed to go take a shower. And like it was just so bad. And so when my mom came and picked me up, I had a mental breakdown, and she didn't let me like go to school for a few days until we figured out what was going on or like what to do. At this point, I did know who was spreading the video the most. It was two of like, it was like a guy I had like talked to in like literally the 8th grade, and then another one was a guy that I like was very involved with from the 8th grade, like really all throughout high school, because I'm that fucking stupid. I forgave him for all of this. Like I am so mentally ill, it hurts. So the only thing that my mom and I really knew to do at this point was to just go to the school and see if like the principal or someone on the board, like, and this, as you can imagine, is so mortifying to go to the board about this. But we hadn't seen the video. We didn't know if it was actually me or not in it. Like, we didn't know what to do. At this point, I just wanted to move like out of state. Like I was like, I want to switch schools. I was so fucking mortified and embarrassed without even seeing the video that you just wait. So my mom calls the principal, and surely enough, when she gets on the phone with him, he happens to tell her, oh my goodness, I was gonna call you at the end of the day today. I needed to talk to you about this. Like it had already made its way to him. Like everyone knew about this. I swear to God, everyone. He had another parent, I don't know who, send it to him, and so now I'm mortified that the principal has either seen my boobs or like some other girl's boobs, I don't fucking know. So we go in for a meeting at the school with the principal, some people from the board, like the superintendent, the lady at the front desk for some reason, the security guard that was like always outside the front door of our high school, my mom and I, like so many people in this fucking room. And keep in mind, I still had not seen this fucking video. So we're in this meeting and they start playing the video, and I immediately knew what was going on. Every single puzzle piece connected in my head in that moment, and I just broke down sobbing. So remember at the beginning of the video when I told you I had those 4 girlfriends, New Year's Eve, I took a shower at the end of the night? One of those weird ass bitches, what did I call her? Ella, I think? She decided to like stick her phone above the shower curtain and take a video of me showering, held on to that video for 7 or 8 months, and then one day on like a random fucking school day just decided to just blast it everywhere, send it to one of my ex-boyfriends. He's the one who like airdropped it at Chili's. Like everything made sense, and I have never been so angry and like felt so upset at like so many people in my life. Also, mind you, there was nothing that happened between me and Ella. We were fine. We were literally still friends whenever this video started going around. Oh shit, hang on. So I will forever think she is like one of the absolute weirdest people I've ever met in my entire life for this. So at this point, I had 2 options: either deal with it or I could press charges. But here was the gag about that. If I pressed charges on Ella, I had to press charges on my ex-boyfriend, the boyfriend that I had talked to in the 8th grade, everyone who airdropped it, everyone who was like, I was gonna have to press charges against like upwards of like 10 to 15-year-olds. Like I just didn't want to put people on a sex offender list at that early on in your life. Like I couldn't do it, so I didn't press charges. So that's pretty much all that happened. I just kind of decided to suck it up and leave it alone. After I understood what the video was and what was happening, that was when I could, you know, go to people and be like, hey, like actually this is what happened. Like she's a fucking weirdo, and she ended up, I want to say either like moving like a lot of counties away or like moving out of state or something, but like the tables completely turned. But people still are weird about it to me, which is just bizarre. I unfortunately couldn't, you know, go to everyone who had seen that video because it was literally hundreds of people. And, you know, tell my side of the story and like, hey, like I didn't do that on purpose. Like I never knew that was taken. And I was also 15 in that video. So I shit you not, one of the last times I was home in Georgia, I was out at an Athens bar, and a guy who I did not even know, he apparently went to a surrounding high school of mine, came up to me and was like, yo, I remember that video of you in the shower, like when we were in high school. And I just looked at him and was like, You're a fucking weirdo, because I was 15 years old and I have never seen a man look so stunned, but like that, like what the fuck is wrong with you? And like what a weird conversation starter. Sorry, I know this video is kind of long, but I think my point with all this is if you've ever had something like this happen to you, know that it's not just you, it's not your fault, it's humiliating, but it's not really something to be humiliated about. It wasn't your fault. It's gonna be okay, I promise. I live a very happy, fulfilling life now. This does not haunt me anymore the way that it used to. You're gonna be okay.
The deadliest mass shooting in Canadian history is the 2020 Nova Scotia attacks. Around 10 p.m. on April 18, 2020, police responded to a shooting at a quiet cul-de-sac in the small community of Portapique. A 51-year-old man named Gabriel Wortman attacked his wife Lisa Banfield in their cottage, set fire to their home, and confined her inside his car. However, she managed to escape and hid in the woods. He went on a rampage afterwards, killing 13 people in the area and burned down several houses, including his own. The original call that came in about the gunshots was from the wife of a victim. Unfortunately, the woman was then shot and killed as well while barricading a bedroom door to protect her two sons. Wortman then attempted to set the house on fire, but the two sons were able to escape. A third son of the victim said that he believed Wortman targeted his father first during the attacks because he knew his father owned rifles and would have been able to stop him. Afterwards, Wortman returns to his burning home and murders a woman living across the street who mistook him for an RCMP officer responding to the fires. The woman's children took in the sons of the first victims, and they all hid together for several hours while on the phone with 911 waiting to be rescued. Some more of Wortman's neighbors drove by because of the fire and they were checking out the area. As they passed by and pulled up alongside what appeared to be a police car, Wortman then opened fire at them with a handgun and injured the driver in the shoulder, but the two managed to flee in their vehicle. As officers responded and showed up to the calls, Wortman was on the run. He fled by driving through a dirty road along a blueberry field which officers hadn't blocked off. He spent the night parked behind a welding shop in the Deborah area. They later found police equipment and gun-related items in a ditch on the property of a resident he knew. Officers and medical personnel didn't show up right away despite the fires and multiple 911 calls being made. Around 6:30 the next morning on April 19th, Wortman went to Wentworth to a house whose residents he knew. He killed two more victims and their dog. He stayed inside the house for a few hours. No one knows what he was doing. During this time, police found Lisa Banfield, Wortman's wife, as she came out of hiding from the woods and fled to a neighbor's home to call 911 since Wortman had smashed her cell phone. She confirmed he was impersonating a police officer and provided a photo of his replica police vehicle. A bolo was quickly issued with this updated information around 8 a.m. to warn officers that he could be anywhere. The RCMP publicly announced that they were dealing with an active shooter at 8:02 a.m. and identified Wortman as a suspect at 8:54. As this was all unfolding, Wortman had set another fire to the house of the couple he murdered, then killed a neighbor who had been out for a walk and tried to help when he saw the fire. This is when he begins driving back on Highway 4. When around 9:30, he shoots and kills another victim as she's walking on the side of the road. He went to another house in Glenholm whose residents he knew, while armed and dressed in police uniform. However, the residents knew it was him and refused to let him in while arming themselves with a 12-gauge shotgun and calling the police. After many attempts to trick them, Wortman left the scene. Before 10 a.m., he performed 2 traffic stops on cars and killed their occupants. In a tweet posted at 10:17 a.m., the RCMP warned the public that Wortman was impersonating an officer and shared a photo of his vehicle. However, he was still on the loose and things were about to continue taking a dark turn. Deadliest mass shooting in Canadian history, the 2020 Nova Scotia attacks. 2 officers were planning to meet at a location near Debert when the active shooter, Gabriel Wortman, crossed their path. He first came across Officer Chad Morrison, who he began shooting at, but Morrison fled in his vehicle and took shelter at an empty paramedic station until he was eventually found by paramedics and transported to the hospital. However, the other officer, Heidi Stevenson, who was en route to the meetup location, wasn't lucky enough to live, as Wortman collided his car head-on into hers. She engaged open fire with him, resulting in him returning the fire and killing her. He stole her sidearm and remaining ammunition before setting both cars on fire. He then shot and killed a nearby motorist who had stopped to help Stevenson, and drove off in the victim's silver Chevrolet SUV. Police announced the vehicle change around 11:06 a.m. Shortly after, Wortman killed a woman that he knew in her home, changed his clothes again, and stole her Mazda 3. By 11:24, he was spotted continuing south through Milford. Over 13 hours after police began pursuing him, at 11:26 a.m., Wortman stopped to refuel at the Irving Big Stop service area in Enfield when 2 RCMP officers arrived. One drew his firearm as he exited the vehicle, immediately aiming at Wortman inside the car. Wortman raised Stevenson's sidearm to his head and fired, whereupon the officers fatally shot him. Wortman was on his way to another home in Halifax to murder more people. In total, during his rampage, he killed 22 people and injured a few survivors. Although most of the victims died from their gunshot wounds, 8 of the victims' remains were found in the remains of structure fires. On May 1st, just 12 days after the killings, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced a federal ban on 1,500 make and models of military-style assault weapons and semi-automatic rifles. Later that month, the victims' families launched a class action lawsuit against the killer's estate, which was around $2.1 million. On December 4th, 2020, police arrested the killer's wife, Lisa Banfield, along with her brother James and brother-in-law Brian Brewster, for unlawfully purchasing and transferring ammunition which the killer used in his attacks. A second class action lawsuit was also filed in August 2020 against the province and RCMP, alleging that they didn't do enough to stop the killer and didn't respond quickly enough.
Am I the astronaut for refusing to smile at someone who told me I should smile more? This interaction took place a couple of months ago, around late July or early August 2023, and it took place in one of those stores where everything is super cheap. Think Dollar Tree, Dollar Store, etc. I, 24 female, had gone with my brother, 21 male, and mother, early 50s female, to grab some cheap snacks. On that day, I was wearing a baseball cap with the name and logo of my grad school on it. After going through the store and grabbing what we wanted, we got in line to check out. The cashier was a man, maybe in his 40s or 50s. Let's call him Bill. When we got in the front of the line, the three of us checked out separately, and I went last. My mom and brother stood a couple of feet away to wait for me while Bill was ringing me up. After some small talk, Bill looked up and noticed my hat. I nodded, and he asked, "You are that guy," and nodded over toward my brother. I told him that I was the one in grad school, and he goes back to ringing up my items. After a few seconds, he looks back up and stares at me. The conversation then went as follows. "You know, you're not going to get very far in life if you can't smile at people." Me, annoyed and deadpan. Not in my experience. "Oh, really? You sure about that?" "Yep, pretty sure." "Sorry, you're going to have to smile more often if you want to succeed in life, sweetie. And don't call me sweetie." "Hey now, I'm just trying to help you." "I'm good, thanks." "All I said is that you should smile more often. Come on, smile for me." I'm good, thanks. I'll smile when I feel like it." When we got outside, I told my mother and brother what Bill had said. They both laughed at me and said I should have just gone with it. Ever since then, they have continued to bring up this situation with me and with friends and family, saying things like, "Don't tell her to smile, she'll snap at you." Or, "What about this time, OP? Do you feel like smiling now?" I get more and more annoyed every time they bring it up, and every time I tell them to stop, they tell me to lighten up. I've told some of my friends and they agree with me, but my family thinks I'm an asshole for not just going along with what Bill said. I don't think I was an asshole for refusing to smile, but I'm wondering if I should have just gone with it. Am I the astronaut? Okay, we have an update. Update for a post I made here a couple of days ago. I know everyone says this on their update post, but wow, I did not expect to get so many responses to my original post. Thank you to everyone who took the time to hear me out and share your opinions and experiences. I know the "you should smile more" thing for women isn't new, but reading all of your comments about your experiences with similar remarks really hammered it home for me. This wasn't okay, and I don't have to put up with those comments from my family. The day after I made the original post, I decided to call my mom and talk to her about the situation. A lot of you said that what she and my brother were doing was essentially bullying, and I hadn't thought about it that way, but you're absolutely right. When I told her about how much her comments annoyed and hurt me, she was surprised at first. She told me that she had no idea that the comments bothered me that much and that she hadn't thought about how misogynistic they were. She told me that she's received comments like "you should smile more" from creepy men for years, and that she just treated it as part of life. The fact that she has just dealt with it for years makes me kind of sad. And while it doesn't excuse her comments, it does help me kind of understand why she didn't see a problem with them. She apologized to me and told me that she would stop, and I'm willing to believe her this time. Also, I'm going home for Thanksgiving next week, and I'm going to see most of the other people who have been making these comments to me. Your comments have given me the courage to stand up for myself, and I plan to put a stop to these comments. If they continue to give me a hard time for it, I'll just send them the link to the original post so they can see that hundreds of people on here are nicer to me than they are. To the people who suggested that I contact the manager/supervisor/corporate for the store, I wanted to let you know that I did just that. I hadn't thought about it before, and I did that earlier today. As it turns out, Bill was actually let go from his position about a month ago. Apparently, I wasn't the only person he made these kind of comments to. Even though I played no part in that decision, it felt like an appropriate conclusion to that situation, and I figured you deserve to know. Shocking.
Get ready with me for our Crimsonet Christmas party. So tonight we are having our Crimsonet team Christmas party. We are having it at one of my teammates' house. Doing a board night theme where each grade brings a different type of charcuterie board. I know us seniors are bringing a sweets board, but I'm not sure what other grades are doing. Decided to make those cookies with the Hershey Kisses stuck in between them. So each grade had to come up with a funny Christmas game for the whole team to play. And of course everybody's wearing Christmas stuff, sweaters, all the things. Cannot wait for y'all to see what I'm wearing. It's so extra. I'll say I'm in extreme hurry right now, which is why when I started this video, my face was so red. Look how red my ears are. I've been running around crazy. Let me just tell y'all, today has been a day. Been overstimulated since 9:50 a.m. So story time, I woke up early this morning and went to go leave my apartment around 9:30. This is the first week since August that I haven't had nursing clinicals, nursing class. So I got downstairs to get in my car and it is nowhere to be found. I'm telling y'all, I walked around for a good 20 minutes looking for my car. Like, where I know know I parked it here. Where's it at? The parking around my apartment is kind of confusing. We have like city 2-hour parking, retail parking, our apartment parking. But wherever I park, it usually doesn't matter because the 2-hour time zone starts at 8. I usually have clinicals. I'm gone by 6. I call my apartment complex and I'm like, hey, have y'all towed any cars? And they were like, no. I called a few of the places connected to my apartment and they hadn't either. Had no idea what I was talking about. My cookies are in the oven. That just looks sad. Never said I was a baker. Anyway, so now at this point, I'm extremely confused where my car's at. I called the city of Tuscaloosa because I was thinking, okay, if it was like the 2-hour parking, even though it's not been 2 hours, maybe they towed it. And of course, they were like, no, ma'am, we don't have your car. But then they were like, but we had 15 cars come up missing in Tuscaloosa last night. What? At this point now, I'm like, oh my gosh, has my car been stolen? Also, I was leaving the apartment to go get a spray tan, so this entire time I have a hair bonnet on and house slippers. Walking around the apartment complex with a hair bonnet on looking for my car. On the phone with the police. It was like, go ahead and call all of the places connected to where you live at. If they all say no, we're going to file a police report for your car. As I start to do that, still walking around the apartment complex, I see this piece of paper connected to this huge truck. It says, this is your final warning. And that was parked like very much near where my car was parked, but that kind of validated that my car was stolen because I've not even had one warning, let alone a final warning, because I never parked there or I'm gone. So I'm on the phone with the police officer at this point, but I call the salon that's connected to my apartment that's giving out these warnings. And sure enough, they had my car towed. Which, thank goodness it hadn't been stolen, but I haven't even had a warning, a final warning, nothing. I didn't know that was even a thing to not park there. No, I just thought it was unfair that they're giving all these final warnings and my car gets towed. Towing company wasn't even in Tuscaloosa, so I had to figure out someone to take me. And I was supposed to have lunch with one of my friends I don't get to see very often because she is out of state, but I had to cancel that. I'm just thanking Jesus now that my car was not stolen. It did cost $200 though to get it back. So that was awesome. Okay, I'm running out of time. Come back for the OOTD. Also, I did so much more today that I have to tell you about later. Bye!
So today's my endocrinologist appointment and it's an hour away. So obviously Anthony and my dad both took off to come. When 2 men take off for your doctor's appointment, I think today is like the day where I find out if I'm getting surgery or I'm gonna be on vacation. I keep getting freaking comments that are like, oh my gosh, you're handling this so well. Like, how do you talk about it so calmly? Number 1, this has been going on for a really long time. Number 2, girl, I'm in shock. Anyway, I woke up this morning pissed off, right? Go get a Celsius to like wake myself all the way up. When I first wake up, I'm weak. I literally don't have control over myself. Like I'm like stumbling around. And boom, my arm has like a spasm and my Celsius spills on my all white rug. Everyone's like, Anthony's gonna be the one to ruin your white rug and furniture. And I was like, you guys are such fun and relatable, quirky teens. Like, haha. And no, it was me. And we don't have any Resolve or rug doctor or anything like that. So I just get to sit there and watch it simmer into my rug. I get to watch it absorb. I get to watch it. There's nothing I can do about it. That's the even sexier part. I just get to sit there and like watch my rug slowly deteriorate and feel powerless. It's really cute. It's kind of like the situation with what's going on with my brain right now. It's really sexy. So anyway, the doctor's an hour away and then I have a meeting right after. My dad wants to get lunch with me and Anthony though, so hopefully I'll have time for that. I genuinely think my appearance is the worst it's ever been. My hair is in that blonde phase. Fake blondes, you know what I mean? Where it literally doesn't look good anyway you have it down because your roots are too grown out and you need a bleaching that bad. Your hair is just like yellow. My eyebrows are literally so overgrown. They're way too close to how they look naturally. I have to get my eyebrows done and the mall's like 20 minutes away from where I live. I'm pale as fuck. It's like I'm rambling about all that because my body doesn't even like work properly. So my looks are the only thing to save me right now because my body ain't working. My freaking eyelashes look like they're doing the Irish split. Like, I think this is the worst I've ever looked in a minute. Like, these doctor appointments are getting so annoying though, because what happens after this one? I'm gonna have to wait another like 3 years before I get the next one and just like live like this again. Like, and I had to fill out an entire packet of paperwork yesterday. It was literally like this thick. That was fun. That was really fun. I was so scared this whole week. Now I'm just over being scared. Like, I just want freaking answers. I'm sick of just waiting in the dark. I can't do it anymore. This healthcare system has failed me many times. Is that crooked? There will probably be an update video tomorrow, so please don't like spam my comments being like, where's the update? Where's the update? Like, it's gonna be a lot to hear in the first place. Trust me.